All right, so today I'm going to be recasting this sill. The sill is this bottom part of the furnace opening, and it gets pretty torn up from a lot of glass dripping on the surface from teaching a lot of classes. So this one's not in that bad of shape, but it will get destroyed when we take this furnace apart to replace the broken crucible that's inside. So here I have a mold that I had made a few years ago. See, it's labeled sill mold. It is upside down. I have it leveled already, and I also filled the seams with some wet clay. It's basically like caulking to keep the castable from leaking out all over onto the floor. So here's some other tools we're gonna need. There's my level. Like I said, I already got it trued up, level both ways. Respirator for when I start mixing the castable. Rubber gloves. I have both the work gloves and the heavy duty latex ones. And there's my release. So anything that's porous, you need to put a release on there. That way it doesn't, number one, soak the moisture from the castable into the wood. And also, once it cures, you need to be able to dry it out or pull it out. So I already got that lubed up a little bit with some Vaseline and filled the crevices. So it should be ready to go. I'm gonna start mixing the castable. So this is a brand new bag of Castilite 30. There's all sorts of refractories that people like to use, but this is one of my favorite ones. Been using it for close to 20 years, actually more than 20 years. Damn, I'm getting old. So here I have my bin, just a regular bussing bin from a restaurant. I don't need to mix up that much. Basically that shape bin will give me a good idea of how much to mix. It's always good to mix a little bit more. You don't want to run out and have to add, mix a new batch and pour that on top. It just doesn't cure as well as what it is intended to. There's my bucket of water. And there's my scoop. So I'm going to go ahead and get this set up to do a time-lapse video of mixing the castable, and I'll be right back to show you the right consistency, and then we'll dump it into the mold and go about the next steps. All right, so now we got the castable mixed up. This is a good consistency. You're supposed to be able to have it slightly clump up into a ball. It's very easy to over water it, make it too liquidy. And if that's the case, then when we dump it into the mold, then all the binder, all that liquid rises to the surface. And again, it just doesn't cure as properly as what it's supposed to. So it's kind of better to do less water than more. As long as you can jam it into the mold using your hands, and also I'm going to use that 2x4 to kind of pack it in to all the corners and make sure it's filling up that mold as much as can be. I have a line marked on the outside of the mold for the depth. So I'm only going to fill it to about that line, and any fine tuning I can shave it using an angle grinder or a masonry file, something like that, to get it to fit right underneath that support bar. I can do that after it cures, and then I will also fire this in the oven to make sure it's really cured. But I mixed it all up and put in a layer from the bottom first. Got that nice and jammed in there, both with my hands and using that piece of wood. I'm just soaking it in water now just to get it cleaned up. Same thing with the scoop. But got a nice little layer in there first, packed it in there, and dumped the rest of it in, filled it up to about that pre-marked line, and sat here for quite some time, just wiggling it, hitting it with the stick, and getting any air bubbles that were trapped in there, getting them to come to the surface. So you'll see them come up through. It just looks like a little tiny black mark. Like I said, I've already been doing this for a while, so I think I got the majority of them out. The more you get them out, the more you get out, the better. You're not going to get all of them out, but the less air bubbles in there, the better quality sill, the longer it's going to last. So we're pretty much done. All I'm going to do is cover it up. I made sure that I re-leveled it after wiggling it and tapping on it with the stick. I'm going to cover it up with the plastic, let it sit for at least 24 hours. I'll probably give it a day or two at least, and then we'll take it out of the mold and cure it in one of the annealing ovens. Water moisture boils, or water boils at 212. So I'll let it sit at 200 degrees for, I'd say at least a few hours for the day. And then I'll bring it up to regular annealing temperature, right around 960, and that will dry out all the chemical moisture. But you want to get rid of the water moisture first, and then the chemical moisture. And if it does not fit, for some reason, if it does not fit on top of this support bar, I can go ahead and grind some of that away with an angle grinder, a masonry bit on an angle grinder, before I cure it. So I'll probably wait to cure it until after I take this furnace apart, put the new crucible in it, and get it all put back together. Once you do harden it, get it up to 960 degrees, it is a heck of a lot harder to shave it away and do any custom fitting.